Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today is an exciting day. So today's the day I got my hands on the PWR129 from Bonafide Kayak. So this is probably the most I've been excited about a fishing kayak coming out, really since the New Canoe Unlimited back in 2021. The reason being is the features. This is what I would call a value-oriented kayak design. So what does that mean for you? It means more bang for your buck, more features per dollar in this kayak. I'm gonna go over everything. There's a lot of stuff to go over, so bear with me. Stay tuned to the end of the video if you would. I'll go over some things that maybe I wish they did a little differently, but there's a lot of stuff to love about this kayak and a lot of stuff to delve into. So let's get right into it, guys. Okay guys, so here we are with the new kayak. One thing I wanted to talk about too is the side view. So looking at the side view of this kayak, you're going to see a little bit of that rocker that I talk about on a lot of your maneuverable kayaks. This kayak, as you go through your moving water or even your calm flat water, it's meant to plane really well on top of the water. And what that's going to do, especially for motorizing this kayak, which ultimately at its core is what it's meant to do, it's going to have a lot less resistance, which is a lot less effort needed for your trolling motor to go along the water. And that's kind of what you get with a design like this. So starting at the front, you're going to notice the handles from the SS series. It's the same here. It's got the padded undergrip, which is really nice on the hands and fingers. Going down underneath it, you can see the bottom of the hull design. It's a tri-hull design, but it's not as intense of a design. It doesn't protrude downward as much as, say, the SS127 or even the 107. It's a little bit similar to the RVR119. So that's kind of where this kayak and the RVR119 kind of got together. Netflix and chill kind of got this kayak as a result of that. There's a lot of great features from both kayaks combined in this kayak. That's kind of what you get when you get the same designer with Hans that designed both of these kayak platforms and a lot of other people that helped kind of go into this. So Bonafide's listening to their customers, which is always a huge deal. New for this kayak is going to be the access plates. So you got access plates in the front. You got an access plate on the other side of the front hatch, between the front hatch and the gear pod here, if you will. You have two access plates underneath the seat, one on the left side and one right behind it. Think of the behind is going to be like your battery, your torpedo, your motor guide, battery going back there. And in the very rear, you've got the one in the very, very back. Again, that's going to be where your stern mount motor plugs into. The access plates give you the ability to mount your plugs in there, do your ports, all of that. It allows you to drill into a plate instead of drilling into your actual kayak, because again, that's going to benefit your beginner, your intermediate, and even really your advanced kayak DIY guys. So you can screw up the plates all you want to, and you can always get new plates, but you don't want to screw up on the hull of your boat. And that takes a lot of the nerves, I feel, out of some people that maybe want to get into it, get their hands dirty a little bit, and customize their kayak and make it their own. Also, you got the front motor mount area. So you do still need a motor mount plate, which Bonafide sells, of course, or those of you DIY guys, again, if you've got that cutting board material that you can make your own plate, you are able to do that. So I love the fact that they developed a kayak with that in mind. There's a lot of people out there that can build, that have the equipment to build. They're letting you do that. Not that you need the permission, obviously, but I like the fact that they're not shoving those people aside. They're opening, they're welcoming them in with open arms, and I love to see that. Moving further back, the hatch, again, that hatch is huge. So measuring that out, you can kind of see here on the measurements, it is enormous. And another thing with the hatch you get the reversible hinges on both the front and the back, which allows you to open it from both the front and the back. That's very similar to the SS series. Obviously, you have a little bigger opening, obviously, on this kayak, so you can store more gear in there. You can get in there. You can route that wiring as you need to. Really, really good really good design there. So moving on from the hatch here, you're going to notice this really large stand-up area, what I call the stand-up area. So your deck space, this is going to be where you stand up and fish from. You're going to have plenty of room to stand up. You're going to have plenty of room to turn around, to move from side to side, and not worry about tripping over stuff. Now, they do have the gear pod, which is familiar, a lot of you are familiar with the SS series or even the RVR. You still have that, so you have that contained box. That's about as close as you're going to get to a watertight box on a kayak. So again, I wouldn't have any problem putting my phone, my keys, my wallet. Also, it's really great if you want to run a depth finder on that, having your display on top of that, run your battery and your wiring inside, and you can mount that transducer on the bottom because you've got a large scupper hole that goes down in there. Also, another thing I've heard that they do have a accessory that you can mount in place of that, kind of a gear pod delete, if you will. So you can see those two bolts here on each end. That is going to be where you mount that at. I don't have any information on that as of now. I'll obviously get that to you as soon as I can there. Okay, so you're going to notice here too, you do have the foot pegs just like you did on the SS series, but these are kind of angled downward. What that allows you to do is it allows you in a higher seating position to pedal downward instead of have that kind of awkward straight position from a higher seating position there. So that's going to help a lot with your ergonomics. This does come with built-in foot steering. So the cables are already hooked up. You've already got the kit, and you've got the spring-loaded rudder set up in the rear end as well. It's deployed by the little clam cleat, what we call it. You got the little cleat on your right side. You just pull the cord out, release the tension, and you can kind of lower it to hold it. A lot like a pull string on an old window blind. It's got the little wheel that kind of locks in. It's got a locking cleat on there. So another good thing about the rudder is it is spring loaded, so it goes down and up, but it tucks up all the way up in the hull, which is really nice because it does protect it. And if you're throwing it in the back of a truck or on a trailer, it is going to protect that a little bit better than having it sit down on that. Another thing too is it can adjust. That's something that I definitely would suggest you doing before you get out on the water is make sure your rudder tension is proper. Make sure that's kind of dialed in. And mainly what I'm talking about is when you release that cord, make sure that rudder drops down pretty good, because when you're out on the water, that water is going to create a little bit more resistance to that. And if it's not going all the way down when it's sitting outside, it's going to do even worse when you're out on the water. That's one thing you do want to watch for on that. But really nice setup because it is adjustable. You can adjust how much tension is going downward on that with that spring on there. So next up is the seat. Really popular seat. It's the same seat as the SS127, SS107, but that's a great thing because that's one of the best seats on the market for a lot of us. If you're a bigger angler or even a smaller one, it's a wide seat. It allows you to kind of turn. You don't have the swivel capability like you do on the Titan X, but you have plenty of room to kind of move around to still fish off the side and be comfortable doing so. It is a high-low, so you can adjust it in the low position. It does kind of create some issues with some of the accessories on there. I'll kind of get into later in the video there. But for now, the seat going up and down, a phenomenal product. You do, another thing to watch out for is you do have a bungee system that hooks onto the back of the seat. If you do buy this kayak, or really any Bonafide product, make sure you're hooking that onto the back of your seat. Should the unlikely event where you dump the kayak, it keeps you from having to chase down your seat because it keeps that seat tethered in there. It also holds tension downward. So when you're switching from that high and low position, it's, your seat's not getting loose on you and coming out of the track so bad. Underneath the seat, you've got, again, just like the SS series, you've got that that kind of under tray, catch-all drawer, if you will. The cool thing about this is the divots in there, which has always been in there for your rod stagers, are paired really nicely with the Bullwinkle rod stager system that comes with this kayak. So the Bullwinkle system is nothing new to kayak fishing. Those of you that have been around a while are familiar with it, but this one here is specifically designed to receive a catch board in the middle. So your catch board will fit into this. It gives you a hard surface to stage your rods in addition to the underseat storage, What that allows you to do is that you don't have any soft materials that can kind of get hooks caught in them and make it harder for you to get your rod in and out of there. Another thing on the seat, you do have these hooks on the side. What these do is this is kind of paired with the rod tip protectors in the nose of the boat. So the one thing I'll say about the rod tip protectors that I really love is they're not very deep. If you're talking about the Hobie Pro Angler or the Jackson Nar, just to name a couple of them there, they have those really long tubes inside the hull. What that kind of, a problem that kind of creates sometimes is when you've got your larger crankbaits, your swim baits, anything with a large hook in it, forces you to have that bait a little bit further down the pole, thus closer to your feet and your legs. And then if you don't do that, you're sticking them in them tubes, you run the risk of them kind of getting caught in there and hooked up in there sometimes. It can kind of create a big pain in the butt to get them out of there and start fishing again. The rod tip protectors are only about 6 or 7 inches deep, so it just literally has the tip of the pole in there. Makes it a lot quicker to get in and out, and also it keeps your lures from getting snagged up inside. The hooks on both sides of the seat for both the rod tip protectors, it does have a little bungee hook set on there, which does kind of give you a little bit more security if you're in some low-hanging areas like creeks and rivers. Really nice to see. It's a really nice way so you're not reaching down into the boat. It's up by your seat, so it's a lot easier to get those rods out. Moving to the back here, you have an enormous Tankwell back here. So I measured this out for you just to kind of give you a general idea of how large this is across as well as long. But you can easily fit a Black Pack Pro 16 by 16, which is the largest size. That's beneficial because I really feel like Yak Attack kind of got taken by surprise by the Black Pack Pros. The 16 by 16s have actually been selling better in a lot of your retail stores than the 13 by 16s and even the 13 by 13. And it's making for a lot larger tank wells. You want to take a lot of gear with you. I've had some people ask me if you can store more than one Black Pack back there. Obviously, you're only going to be able to get one 16 by 16. But if you want to get a couple 13 by 13s, I'm sure you could, or a 13 by 16 and any kind of combination there. Just know the 16 by 16, you've got plenty of room for that in there. Plus, you still got plenty of other room if you want to run your battery pack or your Torpedo battery pack, which is going to be toward the front of the tank well. There's a specific spot for that pack that's not going to sacrifice your tank well, which is really nice as well. Moving to the back here, your rudder wheel. So your rudder wheel is where you're going to make your adjustments on your lines. That's where you're going to be adjusting the tension for the foot peg steering. And also the one in the middle here is going to be for that cleat pull up. That's going to deploy your rudder up and down there. So that's the meat and potatoes of the kayak itself. So I said a little bit earlier in the video that maybe some things that I wish they would have done a little bit better or different maybe. And this is really nitpicking, so there's nothing major. The one thing I would like to see is maybe, I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit different placement of the access plate under the seat, because you do notice when you do have that seat in the low position, it does pretty much delete that plate. I saw that on Gene Jensen's video, or Flukemaster. It bears mentioning because that was a really good point. I'll link his video down in the description if you want to check that one out. Him and Chad both reviewed prototypes from Bonafide, as to where this one here is the actual production, the finished product, if you will. Another thing too is, I'm not sure why they did it. I'm sure there was a reason, but it looks like they'd started to do the flush mount rod holders on the back, and they ended up deleting that. Now there's still a space where you can do that, but why they didn't do it, I'm not sure. I doubt it was a cost-saving feature because those really aren't that expensive. And personally, I would have liked to have seen those on there. They're super easy to do. They're super cheap to do. So, anybody with a little hole saw or any paddle shop can install those for you. But I would have liked to have seen those from the factory. But it's not a huge deal. But it is something that could benefit somebody that's not running that huge black pack or that milk crate setup. Another thing that maybe it just needs to be have a break-in period, or maybe needs some grease up, is the rudder cord. It does tend to stick when going through the wheel there, just the positioning of it. I think if you dial in the tension on the rudder going up and down, that can correct that, but just know that you may have some issues with that. Not a huge deal. You can get that dialed in to where it's not as big of an issue, but that's why I tell you, make sure that's going down really good before you go out on the water. Again, little thing, but you just want to make sure that stuff is dialed in before you're out there on the water and figuring out that your rudder's not going down like you thought it should. But anyways, guys, that's it. That's all I've got here for the PWR129. I also got the Titan X 10.5 footer in. I'll be doing a video on that one soon as well. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think about the kayak? What do you think about the features, the benefits of the kayak? Maybe some things that you're concerned about, or maybe something I didn't cover that you're curious about. Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you for coming by, and we'll see you on the next video.